Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Around the Town with Taylor Brown, the podcast. This is a podcast that so far has only been available on YouTube, but I can tell you as this cut goes to the internet, as you are watching it, you can, from now, you'll be able to listen to it on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple, and hopefully a couple of others such as Google and iHeartRadio. So we're in the process of sorting that out.
And big thank you to Spotify. Obviously, they come on board with an offer pretty similar to what Joe Rogan had, and we decided that this time we'll dance with the devil and we'll take the money. So we will get censored on a few things. Apologies, guys, but that's the big boss, Spotify.
That's just the way it rolls. I also started this one on a bit more of a somber note because I know my mate Taylor here is a little bit depressed. But to add some symmetry and to add some fairness to the pod, you can obviously tell by my accent that I'm of English origin, but I do live in Queensland. So Brendan, a Queenslander living in Sydney, to go with the New South Welshman living in Brisbane, which is Taylor. So Brendan's with us. He's sat there in his den of iniquity. He's got even more alcohol behind him than in recent weeks. And then we've also got James from the UK here as well. So I won't bother asking how you are, boys, because quite frankly, I'm too worried about my mate Taylor. I'm going to say 2 words for Taylor, and there's a question mark at the end. Freddie gone?
Gone. Honestly, Lee, I believe he has to be gone. And when you look at the whole setup and the way things went down over the last, let's say, 6 weeks, I don't believe there is any other answer to that question. I think Freddie has to go. One thing that I don't believe will happen, but what I do think needs to happen is they also need to have a serious look at Greg Alexander and Andrew Johns as well on that selection committee. Some of their comments over this Origin period have really dawned on me as, backing Brad and saying the team were a little bit off here and a little bit off there. When in reality, we saw last night, they truly are miles off the pace. They are nowhere near where the Queenslanders are at. And I think they just need a little bit of a clean slate and start from scratch at New South Wales headquarters.
Brendan, do you agree with me that New South Wales are really rudderless in attack? And one of the problems is Isaiah Yeo in the middle and the middlemen in general.
Oh, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think I agree with you. I think Isaiah Yeo, he even when he was playing for Australia at the World Cup, he's definitely not the same player at representative honours that he is for Penrith. They've got to do something. I don't know where exactly it's at. Whether it's they don't have a clear message, and I think the thing with Queensland had that they know exactly what they want to do, because I think the coaches come in on the first minute and go, "This is what we want to do. This is what we want to achieve." I don't think the same thing happens in the New South Wales camp. And see, when he's playing for Panthers and when a lot of these guys are playing for the club, they know exactly what they want to do. They know what they need to achieve. I just don't think the message is coming from the top.
And you see, what I see, Taylor and Brendan and James, is New South Wales march down the field quite easily. They regularly win the field position battle with Queensland, but they don't turn the pressure into points. And I think one of the reasons is that he leaves his middlemen on too long. So his props, he leaves them on too long. Payne Haas is lucky to get a 5-minute rest in some of these games. So, and also Isaiah Yeo gets too obsessed with passing the football. So what happens is when you get down the other end of the field, because everyone's giving the Queensland slide defence credit for the way it slides, but there's actually nothing arresting the slide, or not as much as there should be. Middlemen are quite often the people who have to do that. And Isaiah Yeo is part of the ball-playing triumvirate. Payne Haas gets little rest, and the forward rotation just doesn't keep them fresh. And Taylor, from being an ex-prop, that role in good ball, about running decoy, or at least if you're going to run in good ball and take the ball, a chance of scoring, that's just as important as yardage, isn't it?
Very much so. It's very important, and almost definitely more important than yardage, you'd almost say. There's actually a point that this reminds you of, and it's something that one of my coaches, Pom, actually, not a bad fella, used to say all the time. And it's when Isaiah Yeo has the ball in 2 hands and he's running towards the line, what does the defense want him to do? And they want him to pass. They want him to slow down. They want him to stop prop and do that because it's a lot easier to read. You get more time. You can push from the inside and it works. Isaiah Yeo actually looked quite dangerous when he was running the ball a couple of times last night through the middle of the ruck, in between he split the markers at one stage and had a 20, 30-metre hit up. And I thought, this is outstanding. I think they have a sigh of relief when he passes it. I think they do too. And the difference of Paddy Carrigan last night, Rosie. Paddy Carrigan, he did a couple of hospital balls last night, actually. Right? Only a couple. But there were short passes and he was trying to make a genuine dent in the defensive line rather than just move the ball sideways. James, before I cut back to Brendan, you've been sat there quietly like a good boy. You watched an hour of the game because you missed some of it from work.
I was working yesterday morning. Yes, I was driving when the game was on. So.
I think some of the New South Wales players sat on that bus because I don't think some of them got off theirs.
I think they might as well have been from the way some of them were playing. I think when you talk about the New South Wales making the meters upfield, they seem to do. They find the fronts play the ball quickly and everything. But like you say, maybe Yo is just used a bit too much as a playmaker. Whereas in the middle, if they were finding more yardage, if they were spelling the props a bit more, they'd maybe hold more defenders in the middle of the field and find more space out wide and find it a bit...
For the last 6 years, Brendan, I've not seen New South Wales struggle to make meters against Queensland. Every time I've watched the game, I seem to feel like Queensland are clinging on.
I'm not. I think the difference is when they're in the middle of the field, they get a quick play the ball. When they're on the try line, it's slowed down. Queensland can reset. Yeah. And the main reason is either they'll do one of the big forwards will try and crash in and they can get numbers in there and peel off. So therefore the outside backs can get set where in the middle of the field they're getting the yards because they got that quick play the ball. And they're just not getting in the 20.
Well, on the Rugby League Coach podcast, we'll talk a little bit of Origin too. We'll split it up a bit to encourage people to listen to both, Taylor. But what about those melee? Were they even melees? What were they?
Yeah, I don't like how they look anymore, Lee. I guess 10 years ago, you'd watch Origin, you'd expect a biff, you'd expect a blue. And last year, Matt Burton's punch on with Tino and Dane Gagai was out of the blue. And it was good because they actually threw punches and got. I just think the pushing and the shoving in Origin at the moment, it feels almost forced and grubby. And that last one between Walsh, Luai, and Addo-Carr, as far as I'm concerned, and this might be a little bit too full on, I don't think Addo-Carr should really be picked for Origin again. He came in the 79th minute. He didn't play a very good football match. He come in over the top of his teammates, threw a punch at someone not looking at him. And then as he was walking off the field, he was grabbing the emblem. And if that's what New South Wales Rugby League represents, if that's our best representation, and if he's proud to do that and then walk off the field pointing at the emblem, I'm sorry, but he doesn't represent me as a New South Welshman. And I don't think he's a true representation of the rugby league spirit and what we do have in New South Wales. I saw that and the game was lost. Everything was gone. And I thought, I don't want to see this bloke in a blue jersey again. And it's not through talent. It's just, I thought that was a disgusting act. And there's certainly been no comment from him today. Jerome Luai, to his in full fairness, has come out and said that, it was all on the field and Reece Walsh should shake his hand and Reece Walsh vice versa. But nothing from Addo-Carr's camp. And that really disappoints me as a fan to see that. I disagree at all. And it's the opposite of tough.
I think there's something deeper in that one because that's not Addo-Carr's game. He's never been labelled with that. He's never been a grubby player for what's he been playing the game for 10 years. And now all of a sudden this year, and he's played a lot of Origin. He's never done that in Origin. He had that bit of a cheap shot on Reece Walsh in the first game, and then he's done that. I genuinely think there's something else going on and they're just frustrated. I was more concerned with the fact of they're sitting there, that they've just been smashed by 26 points and they're laughing and they've got smiles on their faces and they're more interested in, I've got one over because Tino and Walsh are reacting. And I'm like, come on, guys, like you just got smashed. I genuinely think that Addo-Carr, there's something more than that, more going on in there. I don't know what it is. It just seemed totally out of character for him.
James, you're at the start of your coaching journey.
Yeah.
If you were coaching and your left centre got injured, your right centre got injured, so your left centre moved to right, so you had to fill a left centre spot. And on your bench, you didn't have a direct like-for-like replacement, but you had a hooker who was fast but never played there in the centres before, or a back rower who has played in the centres before and filled in, or another back rower who could have filled in. What decision would you have made?
I'm glad you brought this up. Definitely a back rower. Cook just looked a bit, I mean, he tried manfully, but he just looked a bit like a fish out of water at times to me.
Mm.
What about that try? Holmes' second try when he came out the line, didn't make the tackle.
There was also another try where there was a bit of an offload. I forget who did it. Luai came up with a pathetic defensive effort, but because Cook and Luai are both quite short, the offloader was actually quite significantly taller and just literally did a basketball type pass over the top. Part of me during the game, Taylor, I was thinking they could consider switching for Feeta for 10 minutes to run it. This is how bad that choice was, and for Fittler not to adapt after 5 minutes, by all means, right? I think who can I put there quick? Okay, let's just put Cookie there, fine. But when it was clear it wasn't working, surely he should have changed it and thought something. Put Cookie there while you're thinking about it.
The fact that you have the vice captain of the country sitting on the bench, he's not in your starting side, Cameron Murray. He's not in your starting side. He's on the bench. And you're not going to play him at all in the first half, even though he would have been primed to go into that centre spot if needed. And then he gets, 34 minutes in State of Origin in a do-or-die game. Almost brought on once the game's over. Here you go, Cameron, see what you can do with that. It just baffles me. And that's one of the hard selections that I think they go, right, I don't think Freddie really knows. Just not in what he's doing out there. I don't know if it's the pressure that's getting to him. I don't know what it is, but he's certainly lulled by this sense of we're making good meters. Why aren't we scoring? And you can tell in the press conference, he's like, we were close. Well, you weren't close. You were a mile away, an absolute mile away.
32
and if
points away or something.
he said an exact quote after the game was, I looked at the score and I was quite shocked. And I thought to myself, How can you be shocked? I watched all those tries, Freddie, and I'm a spectator. And I would have hoped you had a keener eye on the game than I did, because you're the coach, mate. Very, very concerning. I think Freddie's got to go. I like to think Andrew Johns probably has to leave the selection committee as well for some of the comments he's made on camera backing that side. And interestingly enough,
that means Gus should be gone from Channel 9 then, because all he's done is back these decisions. And even today, I listened to his podcast. And last night on TV, he didn't start calling for a wholesale change. It was
because he's involved.
Excuses.
If you've got skin in the game, you're not going to start slinging mud at the walls. And I think that's exactly why Gus didn't do that. And you can tell he wanted Moses in second game, and he got Moses. He wanted Pangai Jr. in the first game. He got Pangai Jr.
Yep.
You can't just give Origin spots away. It feels like they did. I tell you what, I had a little bit of a listen back today to the infamous Matty and Andrew Johns fight. I had to listen back to it. And I thought, I tell you what, if Andrew Johns can't sit back and look at that argument and think, my older brother was giving me a little bit of wisdom there before this series even started.
Yeah. What was Matty Johns' argument? Because I couldn't be bothered looking.
Matty Johns' argument was that the Queensland side and the Queensland team, the whole outfit, they know how they're going to play. They select to how they want to play football, and they know the exact tactics they're going to employ. And he believes that New South Wales don't. They don't know how they're going to play. They just pick a side and they try and go with it. And Andrew was vehement. He said, we know exactly how we want to play. We know who we want to pick and all this. And Matt said, well, give us something. Give me some knowledge. And this was the spat that's broken them up. Andrew Johns supposedly wants to take his head off, blah, blah, blah. It's a really good little listen, that argument. And I'd suggest to anyone out there that hasn't watched it to go watch it. And that's why that argument there itself shows me that New South Wales need a massive overhaul. And if I was to pick a man to get inside that New South Wales camp in some capacity and to make a massive difference, it's Matthew Johns. I think Matthew Johns can be someone that would really help out that New South Wales camp.
We're going to talk. We're going to talk about the next coach in a moment, because I'm actually going to chair a meeting between you three, because we're going to select the next coach on this podcast, right? But if I just leave it to you, Taylor, even though it is your podcast, it's going to be the most one-sided podcast in the history, because all you ever do is talk about New South Wales. You never talk about poor Queensland. So I'm going to go to Brendan, a proud banana bender, and say, first of all, Brendan, you must be quite proud of the way Queensland are playing and the things that are happening. My question to you, though, are Queensland that good, or have New South Wales been that poor?
Oh, I think New South Wales have been poor. Queensland are good, don't get me wrong.
So we're not looking at another dynasty like some people have tried to suggest?
Well, the reason I look at the difference between Queensland and there wasn't a great deal of changing between when Paul Green was the coach and then when Billy Slater took the year, and there was such a significant change, but there wasn't a huge change in player personnel, just a different approach.
So the changes so the change in players didn't happen. The change in tactics and approach seemed to. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think New South Wales could do the exact same next year.
Mm.
And because on paper, and I think you made some comments on Facebook about this, we're splitting hairs. If you looked at the teams purely on paper and talent, there's not much between the two of them.
Not much between them. You could argue. You could certainly structure an argument saying New South Wales were better. Okay. We're going to select the next New South Wales coach, because one thing you will be happy about, Brendan, is New South Wales are going through an overhaul again. Well, it looks like they will be. The second one in 20 years. So, boys, I'm going to ask you to think of your shortlists for the New South Wales job. I'm the chair of the meeting. I'm going to list them. And then we are going to have a discussion. We're going to eradicate some. We're going to, around the time with Taylor Brown, is going to end up as a selector of the next New South Wales coach. So, James, do you want a little bit of time to get yours ready, or are yours ready?
I'll have a little bit of time, perhaps, Lee. It's just knowing who's in NRL at the moment, which coaches are in NRL, and which might be candidates for.
I've got a tip for you. Google something, and you might find out, because there's been an article about it today. Taylor, your shortlist, please.
My shortlist.
Who's your favourite?
My favourite for the job is Ricky Stewart. I'd love to see Ricky Stewart take the job. It pains me to think that because he's coaching the Raiders, he may not do it. But I'd love to see Ricky Stewart take the job.
And who else is on the shortlist? So Ricky's not available. Who else?
Look, I don't think they have much to choose from. Madge Maguire has been spoken about as a possible replacement. I don't like that option, to be fair. Although
you mentioned earlier about Matty Johns being available in some capacity.
I want him involved. I don't think he's the head coach. I don't think he'd take on the head coaching role. And I don't know if he's the man to take that role either. But I'd like him to be a direct replacement for Andrew on the panel, if I'm being clear. I don't know, Joey's the eighth. I understand all those sorts of things. But time and time again, Matthew Johns has proven he's one of the best footballing minds in the game. And he's very much a critical thinker, and he doesn't let his emotions take out what he sees. So I think Matthew Johns would be perfect. He'd be honest, he'd be raw, and he's my analyst, or he's on the board, he's on the panel.
So Ricky and Madge are your two that you're throwing forward.
In a dream world, I have Ricky Stewart head coach, Matthew Johns on the selection committee. Keep Brandy there if you must, because I can't think of a suitable third.
Well, don't forget, Madge is also Ricky's assistant with the Raiders. Brendan, your list.
I'd probably go the old Queensland setup and similar. I'd go Jeff Tuvey as the head coach, similar to your Mel. That spiritual side of things. And then I'd probably go Matty Johns in there.
As coach?
No, Matty.
No, we're just looking for the head coach. So
Tuvey.
Just Tuvey. That's the only one. You've got no others to be a head coach.
Oh, I think Tuvey, and then a left field one, Mick Innes.
Oh.
I would have Mick Innes with Tuvey, just like Hagan used to do the real coaching for Mel.
So are you going Innes for head coach?
Probably.
We're interviewing for the head coach here. We're finding the head coach.
I'd go Tubes. I'm serious. I'd just go Tubes. because
Ennis head coach or not? You're allowed to put a shortlist together.
I'd probably, because Haslick's got a job today. So
how much of the stuff have you been drinking today? You're sleepy, aren't you? James, have you got your shortlist?
Well, like the minds that were coming to me were like Ricky Stewart. They're all in NRL jobs. Jason Demetriou, possibly.
Oh, Demetriou, is he not a Queenslander?
No,
I'm not.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's a New South Welshman.
No, he's from down south. I think he played. Yeah, he's definitely from down south, and then he come back up. Wayne Bennett got him up.
No, he didn't. He was at Northern Pride.
He was originally at Northern Pride.
Yeah. No, he's definitely from down south.
What has Jeff Tuvey's coaching been since he's gone back over there? Because he was at Bradford a few years ago. I know it comes.
He's not done any coaching since he left Bradford.
Right.
Well, he's a shit club coach, but he did a pretty good job with Queensland.
I wouldn't say he was a bad club coach. He got Manly to the semis.
No, I said Mal. Yeah.
Oh, Mal. Yeah. So Ricky, you've got Ricky and Demetrio. Okay, so boys, Ricky's come up twice. So Brendan, you didn't mention Ricky. Why didn't you mention Ricky?
If I was Canberra, I wouldn't let him do it.
What if Canberra release him?
Then he would need some pretty close to full-time assistants, because I think it's gone. You can see with the amount of time that Billy Slater puts in analysing, understanding his team, knowing what their tick. I think you're asking too much of a club head coach to be able to invest all that time into it. And then I think it's just gone beyond.
So the problem we're trying to solve is the New South Wales problem. So
but
Ricky, hang on, Ricky's got a head coach as his assistant already, as in Madge.
Yeah.
So he could certainly look after Raiders a lot more next year, whereas Ricky can take a bit of a step back at times if he needs to.
I think Ricky could do the job. He's done it, But if I was Canberra, I would release him. But yeah.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. It's tough with him being at Canberra. That's the big question mark over the Ricky Stewart situation. My argument there is, yes, you need to spend a lot of time on it, but he's also the head coach of an NRL team. He's playing against these people. He's studying them. He's also playing. He's got some blokes in his side. You got to remember, it's not just he picks up a completely different competition and studies.
Taylor, he's also been coach of Canberra for a long time now. So, some of the systems he'll have in place will tick over.
I think so too. And he'll have a lot of faith in the Raiders to tick over. So yeah, look, I think it's been a while since we've seen the Origin coach not be a full-time coach at another club. It's been a while, and I don't
think we should rule him out for that.
I don't think as a chairman.
If we're going to do that, though, I reckon Bellamy could definitely come up as well.
Brendan, just said
do you want to put him on your shortlist then, Brendan?
Sorry, I'll go Bellamy and Tuvey.
And Tuvey.
Yeah.
Bellamy on mine, Lee. I was just thinking about Bellamy as well, because he's been everything we were saying. He's been there for years.
All right, I'm gonna throw the other names in that News Corp put in there today. So they had 11. Danny Badeiras.
I suppose he's been part of his current system, though, hasn't he? Is he the assistant of these at the moment?
So, please, boys.
I'm not upset with that option. I would have him on a short list, yeah, for sure.
So
yeah,
that's it. Trent Barrett.
No.
I cannot believe this one was even mentioned. Joey as head coach.
No. I'd give him a rest.
Matty as head coach. Sorry, Taylor. Matty as head coach.
No.
I wouldn't like him as head coach. I don't believe. No.
Okay, Laurie Daly.
No.
Ricky Stewart mentioned. Craig Bellamy mentioned. Tuva mentioned. Paul McGregor.
No.
Phil Gould.
No, not Phil Gould. Look,
interesting, but
I think Phil Gould's a better shout than Trent Barrett, and Phil Gould's a better shout than Laurie Daly, but I'm still not saying Phil Gould. I think that New South Wales are in a really tough time at the moment. Their backs are against the wall, and tough time need tough men. And I think Craig Bellamy, Ricky Stewart fit that mold of really tough men to lead them.
Bellyache on your shortlist as well, Taylor.
Oh yes, I think if you're talking two people. And you know what? Jeff Tuvey's a tough man as well. He's something that would be up for that challenge, Rosie, but I'm still sticking with Sticky. Sticky's my man. I'm picking Sticky.
Okay, so Sticky is your man.
Sticky's my man. If I'm choosing tomorrow, it's Sticky.
Okay. Rosie, Tubes or Bellyache?
Yeah. You want me to pick one?
Yeah.
I go Bellyache.
Bellyache. James, Ricky, Demetriou, Bellyache.
I go Bellamy, but he's just been there years.
So, Taylor, 2 of the committee have gone Bellamy. You've gone Ricky, and Bellamy's on your shortlist. I'm happy to sanction the appointment as chair if you're happy to make it unanimous. So instead of Ricky, you go Bellamy. Bear in mind the other 2 have gone Bellamy as well. Because we're a committee, you see. So
then I'd adjourn to the next meeting and have more of a thought about it.
Have we got time to waste, Taylor?
Not on this podcast, but I'm adjourning to the next.
I'm talking about the state. Has the state got time to waste?
The state doesn't have time, but the state's got a week. Because the third game hasn't been played, Lee. The state doesn't
matter. So if New South Wales win by 50, does that matter?
No, it does. It doesn't matter.
And if they do win by 50, what does that do for anything? Because does that mean we'll keep Freddie?
No, absolutely not. I would say
the game doesn't matter then.
I would say to the committee members that before the third game, can we reach out through silent channels to see if either Sticky or Bellamy are interested in the job? There you go. They're the same silent challenges.
He's not much of a committee man, is he, boys?
I'm strong-willed. I'm not just going to roll over just because the other 2 boys say so. That's not my style, Lee. This is how I feel. Now, I'm happy to. I think Bellamy would be a great choice as well. But I just think that we can't make a decision right this second. Let's reach out through private channels and come back and re-adjourn next week.
See, I'm different. I don't think it's a head coach appointment. I think it's just like it's a team. It should be who their team is. So the head coach and the assistants, because just like the Queensland system is, it's not just Billy Slater. The other 3 are doing just as much. And the mix and how they are would help you determine on who your head coach.
I think the difference here. I think the difference here is that both Ricky and Bellyache are very experienced coaches, whereas Fittler was a failed coach in the NRL. It's funny, if you look at Origin, 6 series is 18 games, right?
Yeah.
Fittler was an okay NRL coach for about 9 games.
But then
and then after that, he dropped off when the depth needed in terms of thought and chopping and changing and cause and effect and yin and yang, he was left wanting. So it's pretty similar what's happened here. And obviously Billy Slater as well, he had no coaching experience. So you can understand the governing bodies putting staff around those 2. Do you not think Ricky and Bellyache deserve to pick their own, boys?
They absolutely do deserve to pick their own.
Okay.
I believe James, they do.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
Wasn't it just 2 years ago New South Wales was scoring 50 points against Queensland? Look at the turnaround.
They scored 44 last year.
Yeah. Let's move on. Q Cup, or Hostplus Cup, I should say. I'm on Taylor's podcast. I've got to behave myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I've got nothing against Hostplus. I just keep forgetting to say it. Mate, you did pretty well on your tips last week. 4 out of 6. Don't wink, mate, because you still, the 2 that you didn't get were ridiculous. But one of them that wasn't. And what about the Dolphins getting rolled by North Devils? I was talking to a mate who was there. I said, "Oh, mate, that won't be a pretty game." But
yeah,
it was.
I was at my son's gala day that day, and my son plays in the junior Dolphins ranks. And a lot of parents were coming up to me saying, "Oh, you're going to be at the game tonight. It's going to be a really good game." Unfortunately, I missed it because I was commentating the Toowoomba Clydesdales taking on Brisbane Red in the 4X League Championship. But I could not believe it when I stopped commentating that game and I had a look at my phone. I went, "This is a tight game." And then I see Bryce Donovan with a field goal to seal the match in the 77th minute. And I just thought, how resilient of the Devils. They've had a very turbulent season in 2023. Quite up and down, new coach, a lot of new systems there at the club. But they pull one out of the fire. And with 8 NRL contracted players, the Dolphins were just left wanting there at KO Stadium.
Now, these tips, I want to put them into a short video, right, for your socials, Taylor. So what I'm going to do this week, Brendan and James, is just ask Taylor what his tips are. You boys speak up just to say you agree. If you do, just say, yeah, I agree. Or if you disagree, chime in with your tip and say why. Is that okay? And the other thing as well, we're running out of a bit of time. And for everybody looking for dissection of the Des Hasler at Titans thingy-me-jig, watch or listen to the Rugby League Coach podcast. We've penciled that in there. Jets and Tigers, Taylor?
The Tigers.
Brendan?
Agree.
Agree by what I see on the ladder.
All right.
Anyway.
You haven't got a
Yeah, I'm looking at the ladder. Yeah.
Taylor, Bears and Seagulls?
Burley Bears.
Brendan?
Agree.
I'm going to go to you straight away after everyone, right? So you go.
Yeah.
Just speak. Capras and Cutters?
Capras.
Agree.
Blackhawks and Pride?
The Pride.
I'm going to agree because I'm not sure on that one.
Blackhawks are in 10th and Pride are 6th.
Agree. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I'm okay.
Wynnum against the Dolphins?
This is a really cracking match, the Herald Cup. I'm going to say the Dolphins bounce back.
Disagree.
Go on then.
Wynnum are at home.
James?
Win them at home purely on what I see on the ladder.
Win them at home.
I'll have to see some games. I'll have to try and watch some games, and I'll keep saying I will do.
Which women have you got at home?
North Devils against the Magpies.
This is a very interesting matchup because the Magpies have been on a fair roll of late. They are on fire. I think they're up to 6 or 7 in a row now. But the Devils are buoyed by that win. So this is going to be my upset of the round. I'm going to back the Devils over the Magpies.
I agree.
Wow.
South have been getting home, but they haven't been flashy. So
I think they benefit from a couple of the Broncos boys having a bit of a spell after playing State of Origin and then possibly celebrating. I'm talking to Patrick Carrigan, Jarice's Walsh's. After winning the series, there was some dubious videos about some really late night antics at the Caxton Hotel.
yeah,
I think the Broncos might give them a bit of a spell, which will call up some players from that South Logan Magpie side. And I think the Devils, I think they bounce back. They are back to back.
Falcons versus the Hunters.
The Falcons, certainly at home.
yeah, the Ford Falcons.
Thank you. Okay. As you know, I like to end each podcast that I host with something random. Today, we're going to talk about white bread. There's stuff going around that it's bad for you and all this, but how good is it, Taylor, white bread?
I love white bread.
I could literally just smash it constantly.
There's nothing better than getting a fresh loaf from like Bakery's Delight or somewhere like that when you know it's just nice and hot. It's fresh out of the ovens there and it's dangerous. We have wholemeal in this house. And the wife gets wholemeal for the boys for their lunches. And I'm strictly, I cannot eat it. I'm not allowed to even look at it. I love myself if you get a nice little white bread or even a white roll. You remember the knot rolls? You know the knot rolls when you were a kid? You get the knot rolls and you get a bit of ham, a bit of butter, and stop it. But yeah, I love that.
James, are you a Warbies man?
I am. I am, Lee. I agree. White bread is quite Moorish. Yeah, but maybe a bit bad for you, but Moorish. It is nice. Do like my sandwiches sometimes.
Any particular opinions, Brendan, on?
Yeah, nothing like getting a hot dog roll and putting a sausage roll in it and eating it with some tomato sauce. Or I'm not as flashy as Taylor. I don't go down to Brumbies or whatever. I just go down to the local hot bread shop here. You know, get them warm and then getting about $5-10 worth of chips, hot chips, and putting it on the white bread with some and the butter. As you put the butter on it, it's melting. And nothing beats it.
And an obscene amount of chicken salt. And
tomato sauce.
Oh, not tomato sauce.
Oh.
The bread in England in rugby league has taken on a bit of a new meaning because of Greggs, where that infamous video where Joe Westerman was late night frolicking behind a bakery, basically. So the rumors are that James has been going to Greg's a lot more for his bread.
Well,
So, boys, let's
Lee, you could say that Joe wasn't using his low fare.
Let's wrap that up. And if you're not planning to, but you didn't know about it, the Rugby League Coach podcast is the other one that we do.